Good morning, everyone. It's Paul Turner, your Director of Sales, as most of you know. We also have with us to the side off camera is Mona, our lead sales advisor for CarBlip. And today we're going to be going over overcoming objections, which is probably the most challenging part of the job. When someone says no, it's very difficult to come back from that. It's very challenging, not difficult, but very challenging. And it's only challenging because we don't know how to do it, right? So let's go over how to approach objections. And first of all, what we have to do as sales consultants or concierges, CarBlip concierges, is we have to understand the position that the client is in, okay? Don't put yourself in a sales position. You want to align yourself with your customer. You want to understand what the position is they're in, right? They're about to make a commitment, 3-5 year commitment on purchasing or leasing a vehicle. And this commitment is the second most important commitment financially that folks make other than purchasing a house, right? So it's a very big decision for them. And we have to remember that it takes people a lot of time to determine when they're going to commit to making another car purchase. So it's very challenging for folks. It's a big part of a family's or an individual's monthly budget and income and insurance costs. So they have to take all of that stuff into consideration when they're making this decision. And we have to align ourselves with that. We have to understand that, right? And that's really the first part, because if you come from that place, it's going to be easier for you to build a fruitful relationship with your client. So, number one, let me put my glasses on so I can read. You want to do a really thorough needs assessment, okay? You really want to take the time to understand and make sure you're on the same page with your client about what they need. What are their wants and needs? Why are they buying this vehicle, right? It's a little different for us because we're dealing with customers a lot of times. Well, for some of you, you're dealing with customers that you're not face to face with, or you're just communicating with through text messages, right? But for some of you who are doing referrals in your own networks, you may have already have a personal relationship with these clients, with these potential clients. So take the time to discuss with them what their needs are. Even if a customer says, hey, I want this, I want a Subaru Outback, and, I'm looking for a great deal on a Subaru Outback. Don't immediately just go to trying to get them a Subaru Outback. You still want to take the time to make sure that they know everything they need to know about why they want a Subaru Outback. Make sure that it really fits their needs. If they have kids or anything like that, make sure that they understand what else is available in the market, right? Have those conversations with them, because the more that you do that up front, especially for you folks who are putting in referrals with customers and working your own networks, the more you build that up in the front of your deal, getting that information, the easier it will be downstream to overcome any objections, because you're building a good base, you're building a good rapport, and you want to actually genuinely care about what they need, right? So remember, the first thing, really do a thorough needs assessment. Why does the customer need to get a new car? Or why do they want to get a new car? Two, back to aligning yourself with the customer, right? You want to personalize this experience with them, right? So a lot of times I'll use a personal story of my own about buying a car. I put myself in the customer's shoes and I let them know, hey, I understand this is a challenging process. I have to go through it too, right? When I make a decision to buy a car, I know what it takes to make these decisions. Again, walk the path with your customer. Okay. I like to use the term when you're negotiating with somebody, usually you have this picture of your head and you're across the table from each other and you're looking at somebody and it's a back and forth. No, I want you to slide that chair right next to your customer. I want you to be next to them. You want to be next to your customer, experiencing this with them, right? Not for them, not, against them. It's not a confrontational situation. This is you aligning yourself with your customer. You're next to them, walking them through this process. Okay. And be educated about what you do. Take the time to, the more you know, the more confidence the customer will have in you. And I know this is a part-time gig for most of you. And you're working your day job, but it only takes a little bit of time every day or 3 or 4 times a week to read a couple of articles, 15, 30 minutes a day. Read a couple of articles on the car business. What's going on in the industry? There may be some information that's, can really, really help you that comes out daily. There's daily information. I personally go to caranddriver.com, Motor Trend, Automotive News, CNBC. I look daily for tidbits of information that are going to sharpen my pencil a little bit more, that are going to educate me a little bit more, that are going to familiarize me with this business a little bit more, right? Spend some time on the automotive websites, right? Ford.com, Mercedes-Benz USA, MazdaUSA.com, Volvo.com. Spend some time on those websites. Look at the cars that are available. Just get a little bit of understanding of what you're doing, because the more you put in your database, the quicker you're going to be able to react to your customers' objections, the quicker you're going to be able to say, oh, hey, what about this? Or, hey, did you think about that? Right? So that's a big part of overcoming objections, is having the knowledge base to overcome those objections quickly, succinctly, and with confidence, right? So please take the time to do that. There are the third thing, and this is one of the bigger hurdles when you're making deals. Sometimes folks will have their current car that they need to trade in. And the math of a deal sometimes can be very tricky and daunting. And if you don't have confidence in that, it's going to be hard to overcome that objection of maybe a customer's vehicle isn't worth what their payoff is and they have negative equity, or maybe they have 5 months left on their lease and they want to wait, or something like that, right? Those can be easily overcome if you guys are prepared and ask the right questions. There is never an instance where a trade-in can prevent a deal from happening. A deal can always happen. It's just making sure that you're equipped, and we equip you with the knowledge to overcome that objections. There are several strategies you can use that we employ to overcome objections when it's related to a trade. The fourth, ask for help. We're here to help you. Ask for help is one of the easiest ways to overcome an objection. If you get an objection from a customer, or if you're confused, right, and you don't really know what to say or how to say it, get us involved quickly, okay? Don't let your ego get in the way of asking for help or saying, I don't know what to do at this point. I can't tell you how many salespeople I've trained in my time at dealerships where their biggest hurdle to being successful or getting on the road to success, their biggest hurdle was their ego. They just couldn't ask for help. They just didn't want to say, I don't know. and I need to find out. That was the biggest obstacle for, I want to say, 80% of all of the salespeople that I've ever trained in my life. The ones that are successful now, some of these salespeople that are successful now that I trained and I worked with, all had the ability to put their egos in their back pocket and ask for help when they needed it. And it's okay. So please do not let that prevent you from being successful. Okay. I put my ego to the side all the time. I ask questions all the time. Everybody here at the office can tell you, I will ask you the dumbest question in the world. I do not care if someone thinks I'm stupid or thinks I should know. I don't care. I literally don't care. It's better for me to ask a dumb question than to not ask a question at all. So please don't be afraid to ask for help. We're here to help you. If something is challenging, trust me, there's enough experience in this building to where if I don't know or Mona doesn't know, there's somebody here that does know, that Eric will know, Brian will know. We'll all get together and figure it out for you. And we've done that before many a time. And then another important part to overcoming objections is you're building a relationship with the person. You're building a business. When you build a business, it's not simply transactional. It's not about me taking something from you and giving you something. That's not what it boils down to. It's more about building a relationship, a long-lasting relationship with every client you have an opportunity to speak with. If it's a referral and it's a friend of yours and they decide not to buy a car from you and they buy some from somebody else, still keep that relationship with them. Congratulate them on their purchase and have a conversation with them about their experience. Staying engaged with your customer base is vital to long-term success. A lot of times we think on a monthly cycle basis, hey, I need to get paid on the first of the month. I want to make some money now. But you want to also, it's great to think that you want to make money now, but you also have to think about long-term. You want to make money all the time. I want to make money every month, every year, right? And that means building and maintaining relationships with the customer base that you have. And the more you do that, the more money you will make. Because eventually, if you work those relationships, 1 year goes by, 2 years go by, you're going to start having people just coming to you to take care of you. And that's how you build a business. That's how you build, income over the long term. And those are the kind of the 5 things that will help you overcome objections. And this is being recorded. So if you didn't take notes, it'll be available on our CBU University. And Brent, does anybody have any questions?
That document will also be available. You be sending it. So it'll go with the video. But we're gonna give them a minute. Common objection that you receive, and how do you overcome it?
The most common objection is going to be price. And there's an interesting thing about that. What they're actually objecting to is not the price, even though that's going to be the first thing they do, but that is a trigger to you. That is a message to you that you haven't done previously what you've needed to do up to that point. And that's the key to recognize. If you present somebody with a price and they object to that price, then that means you haven't done a good enough job before getting up to that point where you're discussing the price. That is very, very important for everyone to understand. So yes, you're going to run up against price objections, but that is a clue to you, this biggest clue that, you know what, that means I have not done a thorough needs assessment. I have not aligned myself with the customer properly and walked them through this process. There's something that I haven't done earlier on in the process that's causing this objection. When you follow the steps, you will never run into price objection. I don't run into price objection anymore. It just doesn't happen. It's because I go through the process properly. Okay. I make sure that I understand why my customer is buying a car and that this is the vehicle that fits their needs, right? If you do that, if you just do that, you'll never have a price objection because you'll head that off in the beginning. If somebody asks you, hey, I want a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, right? And if you start your needs assessment, okay, and talk to them about the history, what's your current vehicle, right? Are they driving a Mercedes E-Class or are they driving a Toyota Corolla, right? Those are small little bits of information that are going to help you understand if the S-Class is going to fit. Are they a first-time car buyer or is this their third car, right? Are they a homeowner or are they renting? Right? You have to pay attention to everything. I'll give you something that I used to do when I was a salesperson way back in the day. And I would see somebody pull up on the lot and they would get out of their car. I would take mental notes of the kind of car that they got out of, what year it was, what watch they were wearing, what shoes were on their feet. I paid attention to everything. Were there kids' seats in the back seat? Right? I paid attention to everything. All of the details matter because it informs you of how to address this customer, not how to judge them. It's key. We don't want to judge people, but we want to make sure that we understand what kind of individuals are we dealing with. Are we dealing with type A personalities, type B personalities, right? You want to understand as much as you can up front before you even get to where you're presenting them a price. If you're presenting somebody a deal structure and they disagree with that deal structure, then you haven't done the proper job of understanding what this customer's needs are, why they're buying a car. You haven't done a good enough job of showing empathy and aligning yourself with the customer and walking with them through the process of buying a car. So that's what I would say to the biggest objection you're going to get is price. And just please know that investigating your customer is vital to you having success. Take the time. Again, it's very difficult for us to do that for some of us who get leads and only work through text messages. That's a big challenge because you don't want to be typing books, right? So there's a lot of blurbs, short things, but you can still do it because sometimes I still work leads and play around with them and communicate with folks. But for you folks who are doing referrals and working your own networks, a lot of these are going to be people that you know. So it should be very, very easy for you to make sure that you're assessing what your customer's needs are. And you're aligning yourself with your customer. So you should never run into that problem.
For the people who are working maybe referrals that they don't know as closely, a friend of a friend, or if they're receiving leads, do you have any suggestions for gathering all that like background information?
Yes.
Sorry.
I'll say it again.
For the people who are working, maybe people they don't know as closely, friends of a friend or a lead, how would you suggest getting a lot of that background information?
So what you want to do in order to get, if you're working a lead that you don't know, it's a fresh person out of the box, right? And these are let me direct this specifically to the people who get leads from us, right?
Or the people who are like, have been referred to a person, like this is someone you've helped, or this is your cousin's friend.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hit those in two ways. So the first I'm gonna go with, if you're getting a lead through our system and your initial contact with that customer, right? Again, even though it's different because most of your communication is going to be, text message or maybe email, the process is still the same, right? You still have a person who's in a very, very stressful situation of buying a car, right? A very important decision for any family is committing to purchasing or leasing a vehicle for 3 to 5 years. Nowadays, they're doing 6 and 7 years finance terms, right? That's a big decision for them. So even when you're looking at that text message and you're about to reply, stop and prepare yourself and think about that. Let me put myself in the shoes of my customer, right? Let me understand what they're going through, right? Realize that they're out there shopping. You're just one of 5, 6, 7, 8 people that they've put a lead into. Take the time to take a breath and say, how do I really want to approach this? Knowing that you need to make sure that you're addressing this customer's needs. And the first thing that I do when I reply, if they've replied to our automated email or text message, the first thing that I do is I reaffirm the information that I have, right? So if they put in a lead for a particular vehicle, with particular terms, I start the conversation reaffirming that, right? Because I want to do an assessment of their needs. So I want to make sure, right, that this is exactly what they want. Because sometimes people put in leads for one car and they really don't want that car and they change their mind, or they're really looking at 2 or 3 cars. But if you never reaffirm that information, you could be literally on just a ghost chased for no reason. So start by reaffirming that information, right? And I also say in my email and my text message, I need to, at the end of that text message where I reaffirm what the needs are, what they put that vehicle in, I'm asking this information again because I want to make sure that when I go to work for you, that I have the proper information. So I'm setting them up mentally to expect more questions. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but I'm setting them up for that. So that's how I start. And that's one way. Now, if it's a referral too, if it's a referral from somebody, a friend or somebody like that, it actually should be a lot easier if you have that person's information and you're working that deal. I would suggest getting on the phone with that person, introducing yourself to that person, letting them know, hey, Billy's my best friend and he gave me your information to give you a call about the vehicle that you're interested in. My name is Paul. I'm with CarBlip. Here's our service. Do you have a moment to speak? Do you have a couple of minutes? If they say yes, I work with CarBlip. This is our service. This is our process. We take all of the negotiation on your behalf. We do all of the work for you and have a car delivered. Is that something you're interested in doing? No, it's not. No worries. If you have any questions about buying a car or the buying car process, please give me a call. I do that all the time if somebody tells me no to that question, because I want them to know before I start, I want them to commit to me to doing business. So I will ask that immediately. I'll introduce myself, tell them what we do at CarBlip, and would this interest you? Are you interested in going through this process? I'd really love to help you out. But if they say no, that's fine. I just let them know I'm still here. Keep my number. If you need to verify any information that you get from a dealer while you're shopping, please give me a call, right? That's very important. And so if it's a referral, that's the first part that you want to do. The second part is the same thing. Do a needs assessment. Have a conversation with them about why they're buying a new car. Are they replacing or adding a vehicle? What are we doing, right? Because you're with them. You're not against them. So the more information they give you, the better we can help them downstream, and the less chance of objection. The more you align yourself with the customer, it lessens the chance of objections. I hope that answered that question.
So, we have another question. How do we get an ideal price, especially considering their credit, both from us first, and then how do we get that information from the customer or the client?
That's a good question. So how do we get a good price?
Like, how do we get an accurate price from us, and especially according to their credit or considering their credit, and their situations? And then as a second question, how do we get their ideal price from the customer?
So our price doesn't matter. What the price we can get from a dealership doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until they said, yes, they're ready to buy a car, right? And that's tricky, right? I understand the question and I understand why people ask it, but when I take a step back and put myself at 30,000 feet and look down on that question, the reason you're asking that question is because that is the objection that you're running into most of all, and that scares you, right? The price objection is where the fear is, right? And you know it's going to happen. But again, that's because we haven't done our job up front. Simple, very simple question. Customer puts in a lead and they want a Jeep Wrangler and they want to lease a Jeep Wrangler, right? You simply ask them, what's your pricing expectation? What's your monthly expectation of cost of this vehicle, and what down payment do you plan to use? If they say 0 down and $300 a month, it doesn't matter what price we can get the car for.
Not gonna happen.
Doesn't matter if the car is built or if it's on Mars. That deal ain't happening, right? You're not getting a 0 down Jeep for $300 or $400 or $500 a month. It's not happening. So that's right in the needs assessment, right? If you ask the proper questions up front, you'll never get to the point where a customer is objecting a price that you give them. When you give them the price, they're just going to be like, okay, that's what we talked about, right? And that's how it should go, right? So it's not about the price that we can get them based on their credit and all that. It's really about assessing their needs up front and what their wants are, right? Reaffirming the vehicle that they need actually fits what they need it for. And then you ask them the questions about their budget. Very simple. What's your expectation of a monthly payment, and how much would you like to put down for this vehicle?
I got a
And
quick
if they
question.
give you some numbers, right? We can generally look at those numbers instantly and know whether it's a deal or not. And if you can't, that's when you go down and you ask for help. Hey, this customer wants to pay X amount of dollars with this much down for this vehicle. Hmm?
So you got the message on Discord.
Yes, on Discord, the messaging,
Just on Discord, if you would
Exactly.
like us to look at the pricing.
exactly. You message us on Discord and we'll give you an answer. And if the answer is no, you can't get that car for that, that's when you revisit the client and say, hey, that car might be a little bit outside of your budget unless you're willing to increase
Down payment.
your expectations.
Yeah.
It's just being straight up, and don't leave any room for variation. When I deal with customers, I don't leave any room. Okay. I tell them very, very sharply what the deal is. Right. And it's okay. And if sometimes they say, hey, well, I just can't buy a car right now. It doesn't seem like I can afford it. My answer to that is, let me know when you do. I'm here. And I move on. I don't, I get it. Sometimes we're in the middle of working with a deal and we're working with the customer and we have a little bit of connection there. We really want to get that deal. But if it's not there, it's not there. Right? I don't beat a dead horse. I recognize what I can do for a client. I recognize what the client needs, and I try to fulfill that. If I fulfill that, great. If the timing isn't right, great. I'm still here. And because I keep my relationships alive, right? Because even though it may not happen on Tuesday, but I still check in with those clients. I still say, hey, I remember in December, we were talking about the Jeep, wasn't the right time for you. Just want to let you know that the programs are a little bit better, might be at an advantageous time. How are you? How you doing? Little things like that is what keeps those customers in your pocket and keeps those opportunities there. So again, it's not about the price. It's about what have you done up to the point where you're discussing price. And a customer doesn't say no because they don't want to buy a car. They say no because we haven't given them enough information for them to say yes. Okay. We just haven't done a good enough job upfront. So investigate your customers' needs upfront. Ask the hard questions upfront. And it's the one that I ask all the time. What's your budget expectation and how much do you want to put down? And then after that, if they give me that information, my next question is, how's your credit? Where do you stand? I don't know. I think it's good. Here's our pre-qualify link. Please go to it and complete it. There will be no inquiry on your credit, but this gives me a great picture so that I know whether you're tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, so that when I do present you with numbers, I'm presenting you with numbers based on what I know you can qualify for. Please rewind that and watch this back later, because that phrase I've been using for 15 years.
I got a quick question for you.
In just a moment, but before that, I just wanted to ask one more clarifying question on that. For the pricing, is the practice to message you? Is the practice to message somewhere in Discord? Kind of what is the goal for that? And then also mention the price reference sheet that we.
Right. So James is the only reason James isn't with me on this video right now is because he's making sure he gets that pricing sheet done. He wants to get that done for you guys. So he's working on it right now. Your workbook.
So for the newer people,
the
name of it.
It's the pricing reference sheet, right? Oh. Yeah, the pricing reference sheet will be available to everyone. Also, what was I going to say? What are we on? Pricing, right?
Messaging on Discord.
Messaging on Discord. Your workbooks, for those of you who submit workbooks, the workbook should have on it what the customer's pricing expectation is. That's why we made that workbook. The more complete you make that workbook, the easier and more effective we can be in helping you. Okay. So if you don't put a lot of information in that workbook, it's going to be more difficult and challenging for us to not difficult, but challenging for us to help you be successful. Information is paramount. The more information you have, the more information we have, the better we can help the client, right? So we always want as much information as we can get. Keep that in mind. Information is key. Information is key.
And thank you, Dennis, for waiting. What was your question?
I put in recently a kind of like a form to because I had somebody who's looking for 2023.
I'm sorry, one moment. For some reason, my speakers are being very low.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
There's a form on Discord. I had somebody who's looking for 2023, but wasn't sure whether he was going to be purchasing within the next 6 months. If by chance he's going to be thinking about it beyond 6 months, could we still fill out the form and kind of have it on the back burner and from time to time check in Maybe there's a possibility that kind of came across the desk that I can present him with, or do we say, we'd like to somebody who is going to be serious about purchasing within the next 6 months. Anything beyond that, don't bother.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry about my speakers. The question is, if you have someone that comes through who's really not looking to purchase for at least 6 months out, are they worth putting kind of on a back burner and checking in with, or should you just write them off after
Yeah.
if that's their expectation? Okay.
Yeah, or when they're actually serious about it,
That's a great question, Dennis. You
Yeah.
shouldn't write anybody off.
Okay.
If someone is interested in purchasing a vehicle, and it's 6 months from now, if it's a year from now, that's future business. As a business person, you want as much business as you can get. And if you can line up future business, that's great for you.
Yeah.
There isn't a successful business that turns away customers. It doesn't exist. CRMs, customer relations management systems, are designed to help you manage future business. Future business is a big thing. Building relationships is a big thing. Networking is a big thing. All of those things lead to a successful business. So if you have someone and they say, hey, I'm not trying to buy a car, make a note, keep notes. You put it in your CRM if you have HubSpot. If you don't, if you're one of our concierges that are just working your network, make notes, start a spreadsheet, be a business person. You're a business person. Do business people things. So every contact is valuable. Just because I say, hey, if somebody's not ready and I move on, that doesn't mean I'm throwing them in the trash. I'm just moving on to the next customer. That customer is still in my CRM. We're still monitoring them. We'll still send them emails. I'll still send them text messages. Yeah, you want to keep in touch with everyone.
And a good tool for that is set calendar reminders. If you have someone that you know that says, yeah, I'm not ready to buy a car now, I'm going to look to buy in a couple of months. If they say 6 months, set a reminder in your calendar with their contact information, like copy and paste some of that information over. And in 5 months, reach out to them again and be like, hey, I know we talked 2 months ago. Do you think you're ready to get a car now in the next couple of weeks? And so maybe they'll say no, maybe they'll say yes. Also, we are we're working on getting the silver access to our new portal system as we are moving over to our new CMS system. So if you are interested in starting to use that contact management system, please let me know, as we are trying to get a couple people to test that out. It's not completely done yet, but we have some of the SMS and email systems that are in there that need testing at the moment by real people before we can launch. So if you are interested in doing that, let me know. Feel free to email me.
Okay.
And also, remember, if somebody says, hey, I'm not interested right now, or I want to buy a car in 6 months or 3 months or whatever it is, I think I'm going to wait 6 months. Ask them why.
Okay.
That's very important information. Ask them why. They may have a hurdle in their mind that they don't know how to jump over, and we can help them jump over that hurdle. So asking why is very, very important, and it's not rude because you're there to help them. So remember to always ask why when somebody says that, or if somebody gives you an objection, ask why. Because maybe there's an answer that they don't know of. Thank you, folks. Have a great day.